Yes, yes. What's going on, people? What's going on? Oh, double Ashmatic. What's going on there?
I think it's a weekly thing we're doing now.
Yeah. We just change each other's names as we go along. Yes, but people, welcome back to another exciting show. Rivals is my boy Ashmatic and my co-host as well, Hass in the building. How you doing, my bro? How you doing?
Yeah, man. All the festivities are done now. I think, it's time to crack on with the football now, isn't it? I mean, had a good time during Christmas.
Yeah, I've had a very good time, man. Lots of food, resting. But yeah, I just want to get straight into it, man. We've got a guest here. He goes by the name of Keith. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us where you're coming from, my bro?
Yeah, how you doing? Keith, from South London, Liverpool supporter, regular podcast member of the Centre Circle pod. How you doing, boys?
Very good. All good. Thanks for being on the show, Keith.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah. So basically, I want to get straight to it, right? Because the reason why I've got you on here is this is the question that has been posed. Who has a better team, Villa or Spurs? So I just wanted to get people's thoughts. People coming in the comments, I want them to know as well. I want them to get involved in the show, and I want to ask them who is better, Spurs. Who's got a better 11? Who's got not a better 11? Who's got a better squad, shall I say? Is it going to be Spurs or is it going to be Aston Villa? And just before I start, I'm just going to put it into context because I do have a clip somewhere from your show, from the Centre Circle. Is it called the Centre Circle podcast? Yep. And literally just put it into context. Let's see if I can find you. Where is your video? It is... Here it is. I found it. So,
we're saying Liverpool, Arsenal, Aston Villa, City. Yeah, possibly.
Just based on Villa's squad and certain games, I think they might get unstuck. They might get stuck a little bit in some games.
I think Villa have got a better squad than Tottenham.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
you think Villa have got a better squad than Tottenham?
Oh yeah, 100%. You look at
their midfield.
I think Tottenham have got a better first 11. But once you go past that,
as in depth,
yeah.
Well, because you can see that now. Tottenham lost 3 players, and
then
they all went pairs.
Yeah, Luigi didn't even play today for Villa, so and they still got the result.
So yeah, man, Keith, the floor is yours. Literally, so I was dropping you right in the deep end. Obviously, this is a Spurs podcast, but I want you to kind of give a bit of context because at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong. And everyone's entitled to their football opinion. We just need some context on the whole situation. Obviously, that was taken at the time. I think we just played Villa, am I right? And I think Villa just got the result, I'm assuming. So I'm assuming that's why you came up with that that particular opinion. Whether it's right or wrong, some Spurs fans might agree with you. Some Spurs fans might disagree. What do you think? What is your reasoning for that opinion?
No, so that clip wasn't even that long ago. It was like maybe a week, just over a week ago.
Right, okay.
And that was just purely based on how Spurs performed once they had the suspensions and the injuries that happened to Maddison and Van der Ven, who've been really good for you guys, by the way. I guess rewind it back and say, I think 11 for 11, you've got a better first 11 than Aston Villa. I just think when it goes beyond the squad, when it goes beyond the first 11 to the squad, I just think they've just got a little bit more to them at present. I think it's something that Tottenham will address going forward, just based on how well you started the season. I think if Levy doesn't back and in January, I think that'd be a massive injustice for how he started to life in the Premier League. But I think 11-11. I think if you've got everyone fit, you've got a better first 11 than Villa. But I think just looking at the squad and how you performed when you kind of had a few key players taken out, that's why I said that I think they've got a better squad than you, because if you look at Aston Villa, they haven't had many injuries, but they've been able to rotate. Obviously, in that clip, they had Louise out in that game. who's been very integral to how they've been this season. And when he didn't play, it didn't look like they missed him. I would say they're a bit short up top. So if Watkins is injured, I think they will struggle there. But outside of that, I generally just think they have a better squad than Tottenham. But again, 11 v 11, I think Spurs take that.
Hass, what do you think? Do Villa have a better not starting 11, but do they have a better squad than Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at it at the moment on paper, I think Villa's got much more depth than Spurs. I think depth has always been an issue with Spurs, to be honest. First 11, fantastic. They can beat any team on their day, but given the injuries we've also had as well, the squad depth is just not up there with the likes of Villa. They've got Digne who come out injured, and then they've got like-for-like replacements like Marino who can just step in. We haven't got those options at the moment. Douglas Luiz being out, a few other players being out is no problem for Aston Villa. They've got players that can come in and do the job. McGinn firing again, Douglas Luiz. All these players. It's just rich depth that you need in the Premier League, and the table doesn't lie. Look where they are in the table. Obviously, it's no secret we started off fantastically well. First 10 games, it was absolutely amazing. But you've got to have the depth to continue that. You've got to have the depth to have that consistency. We don't have that. So I have to agree with Keith. At the moment, Villa have the better squad. But Tottenham on their day, with the first 11, I think they're up there with the 4 best teams in the league. Maybe even the 3 best teams in the league. Arsenal and Liverpool and City.
Guys, in the comments, let me know if you agree. Do Aston Villa have a better squad than Tottenham Hotspurs? And just following on from that question, guys, and I'll start with you, Keith. Do you think then that Aston Villa are in a title race? Not that they won a title, but they're in a title race. And B, will they finish higher than Tottenham Hotspurs come the end of the season?
So it'd be a bit remiss to say they're not in a title race, considering they're only 3 points off the top of the league at halfway point of the season. I think if you say Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City essentially are in the title race, then yeah, Aston Villa are too. Whether they finish above Tottenham, I think it goes back to the January transfer window on what both teams do. Like I say, I think Spurs have got a little bit more to address. But I think it could go either way. Like I really think what it goes down to how you spend the money and who you buy. Because essentially, when you're challenging for the league, you want players who are, even though they're going to be on the bench, when they come off the bench, they're either going to be at the level of the player that they're replacing, those are starting the 11, or can change the game in moments. And they're the kind of players that you need. And I know it's hard to find those players in January. At times, that's going to be the struggle, unless you go for a proven Premiership player already. But yeah, I think whether Spurs or Villa finish higher than the other goes down to the January transfer window. I think it's going to be that simple, really.
I mean, if I'm just going to just play devil's advocate and just ask, minus the January window as things stand at the moment, let's assume that the only business that Villa and Spurs do, they only get like one signing in, and the one signing is like for the depth of the squad. So for Spurs get a centre back. That's what they need. And then Villa, let's just say for argument's sake, they get, I don't know, where they like, maybe another midfielder. Where do you think then, or do you think that makes a difference in the terms of where they finish? So, like, would you think Spurs will have any chance of finishing higher if, we only get one signing in or 2 signings in places we need, versus where Villa, if they only get 2 signings in where they need? Where do you think, if we both have the same type of windows?
I think if you have the same type of windows, I think you would most probably finish higher. So if you address the centre-back issue, like ultimately you don't want to play the second half of the season with Ben Davies playing centre-back. If you can get a competent centre-back in who can come in and do a job if you do have any injuries in that position, then it's more likely that you will finish above them, because that's an area that I think you kind of fall short on, as has said. I think with Villa, I'm not sure they'll sign a midfielder. Maybe if they sign a striker, but again, striker is one of those positions. Like, can someone come in and hit the ground running? Will they do a job straight off the bat? So yeah, I think potentially Spurs, if each team addresses their key areas, I think Spurs will have a better chance.
And over to you, Has. If Aston Villa was to get like a Tammy Abraham, for example, I mean, they've been linked with them in this position, and supposing they got like a Sancho on the wing, because Manchester United are probably looking to offload a player to address the FFP, so they could probably get a centre back in themselves, because they're quite light in that position. Do you think that, you know, Aston Villa, or do you think Spurs, if Spurs get 2 centre backs, for example, we could finish above them? Where do you see it?
Yeah, look, I think our main issue this season so far has been the injuries. Since that Chelsea game where we come away with it badly wounded, you know, red cards, injuries, we just haven't been the same. You know, Romero has been confirmed he's out for 4 to 5 weeks, more injuries. So I think centre-back's got to be the priority position for us. I think if we can sort out that issue, it will help us in time for Van der Ven to come back and then partner whoever we bring in, because Romero being out 4 to 5 weeks now, that holds us back again. So I think the key area is the defence. We can't, like Keith said, I agree with Keith, we can't go with Ben Davies the whole season, because although he's come in, he's stepped in, you know, and he's done okay, it's not going to last the whole season. The guy's a left back, yeah? He's competent at centre back, but that's it. The word is competent. We need someone who can play that high line that Andrew wants to play, because at the moment, trying to play that high line with Davies in there is just, you know, it's not the same as what it was with Van der Ven. With Van der Ven stepping up, you know, players are more comfortable. They can press higher up on the pitch. You can't do that with Davies or even Emerson Royale stepping into partnering, which it probably might be the case tomorrow night. So definitely defensive issues have got to be sorted out. If we can get a striker in as well as a centre back, it's a big win for us, because we've got players that can rotate now. Obviously, Richarlison started to score. I hope that continues. Long may that continue. But he started to score, which is a plus for us. Sonny playing down the left now, again, another plus. And Brennan Johnson, for me, I think he will come good. Brennan Johnson, for me, is a really good young player who can, well, he has the potential to be better and better over the next couple of seasons. So we've got plenty of options up top. For me, it's got to be the defensive areas that we need to sort out. The other issue, which I might add, will be the midfield, because we're a bit dry in midfield. Bissouma, red card. Obviously, Maddison still not back. But on the plus side, we've got Kulusevski, who started that, you know, that 10 role sort of thing fantastically well. You know, he's taken to it like a duck to water. And I think long term, it has to be him and then Brennan Johnson out on the right. So, yeah, look, it's hard to do business in January. It's really hard. Everyone wants a striker. You know, Arsenal will take a striker if they can find one. Chelsea, I'm sure, would replace Nicholas Jackson. But although they got Nkunku who's come back, he's quality. But again, Manchester City, Haaland out injured, they could possibly do with a striker. Everyone needs a striker. It's so hard at the moment. So for me, like the first priority would be defense, striker, then midfield.
You say a striker, but I'm going to move on to Keith's team, which is Liverpool. Now, Liverpool obviously have Salah, and I don't think they've got any problems up top, because they've got Jota that's now back, firing on form. Even Nunez scored a goal as well from outside the box. And they've got Gakpo as well. He doesn't look too shy in terms of, you know, in terms of front of goal. So the question I was going to put to Keith was, you know, we've got this whole African Cup of Nations situation where we're going to be missing Bissouma and Sarr and Son. Liverpool will be missing Mo Salah. Now, how vital would that be to your title push? Even if you think, do you think you're in a title push, first of all?
Yeah, so like kind of similar to what I said with Aston Villa. Like we're top of the league at halfway point. I know Arsenal got to play tomorrow, but yeah, we're in a title push, and I think that's a bit of an accelerated expectation of where we are, considering what happened last season. And in the summer, we lost essentially our whole midfield, revamped it. I said in our pod a couple of days ago that my expectation was just to get back in top 4 and show that we can compete again. But yeah, we're ahead of schedule, like top of the league, qualify for the last 16 of the Europa League, in the semi-finals of the League Cup. Like I can't fault where we are, so I'll be very silly to say that we're not in the title race. In terms of Mo Salah, if you take out Mo Salah's goals from any team, they're going to struggle. The benefit of the African Nations Cup and when it lands is that you're likely to miss maybe 1 or 2 games. I think when the last African Nations Cup went round, he only missed 2 games. Didn't really affect us that much. And now that we've got that kind of winter break, so to speak, after the FA Cup, so I don't think he'll play in the FA Cup game against Arsenal that we got coming up. And then we've only got one. I think we've got 1 Premier League game towards the back end of January after that. So it's going to be a miss, and we need the other 4 attackers to step up. I know Diaz scored yesterday, scored a really good goal. You mentioned Jota coming back. He always chips in with goals. But if you just take Diaz, Gakpo and Nunes, they haven't hit the numbers that they should have this season as far as I'm concerned. It hasn't affected us too much because, like I say, we're top of the league. We have relied on Salah a lot. A bonus that we've got is that we're getting goals from midfield this season, which we didn't have last year. So there was even more weight on Salah's shoulders last year, which has kind of been lifted a little bit. So all of our new midfielders have scored goals in some way, shape or form in all of the competitions. So, yeah, we'll miss Salah, but I don't think it will be as detrimental as what it could be because we've got goals from all around now.
Comes on to my next question, and I'll let Has answer this one first. Harvey Elliott or Papa Meta Sarr? In the comments as well. I know there's a few Gooners in there. I want to hear your comments. All you neutral fans out there, I want to hear your comments as well. Spurs community, I want to hear you. Is it Harvey Elliott or is it Sarr? Sarr's being talked about amongst the Spurs community as being one of the most underrated midfielders at the moment. But I just want to know everyone's opinion on Harvey Elliott. Is he having a better season? Is he a better player? Or do we prefer Sarr in that position? They both play in the 8s. I know one's more attacking 8 and one's box to box. But yeah, what's your opinion as a footballer? Harvey Elliott or Sarr as a footballer?
So your question is who is better or who would I have in my team?
You can start with who's better and then you can say who would you have in your team. Let's do it in that order.
Currently, I would say, sorry to all my Spurs family out there, but I would say actually Harvey Elliott. And this is the reason why, right? He's played in an established team for quite a while now. He knows his way around the Premier League and he is still young, just like Sarr. But the advantage is that he has more experience of playing around more established players who have been winning stuff. Not as consistently as you would have liked, but you've won the Champions League, you've won the Premier League. He will have been around all of that. So at this current stage of their careers, I think Harvey Elliott is the better player, but Sarr has huge potential. If you look at interviews with Yaya Toure from a couple of years back when Sarr was first signed, he really highly rates him. And I think he's a huge prospect for us. So he will get there. In terms of for the team at the moment, who would I have in my team? I think Sarr at the moment works well with the dynamic that we have, with the midfield setup we have, and the way he wants to play. However, I think Klopp with his system isn't too far behind or maybe even ahead of what he's doing. They're not too dissimilar in this type of football that they want to play with that high pressing football, the high line and everything else. So, look, it's a close one, but I think Harvey Elliott's just ahead a tad at the moment because he's been playing for Liverpool for a while now, whereas Sarr's coming from the French league, from Metz. It's not the same thing, is it? And this is his real sort of first season at Tottenham as a first team player. So I can only judge it maybe end of the season, come next season, and see how Sarr is performing then I can sort of cast a better judgment to say, actually, do you know what? Sarr's progressed much better than I thought, and he's better than Harvey Elliott or whatever, vice versa.
And Keith, what's your assessment on the question?
Yeah, I agree. And it's mainly down to the experience thing. Like Harvey Elliott started playing for Fulham when he was 16, 17 years old. We signed him and then sent him to Blackburn in the Championship on loan, where he had a really good standout season for Blackburn in the Championship. And we know the Championship's not an easy league to play in. And then he'd come back to us and taken his first team opportunities. He was playing really well before he broke his ankle, was out for a while, and then to come back in and worked his way into first team contention. I was a bit surprised he didn't play against Man United, or didn't start against Man United, because he was done really well in the games leading up to that match. But Sarr's been a bit of a surprise for me. I didn't know too much about him prior to this season, but the partnership that he kind of formed with Bissouma and Maddison, he's shown that he's got like a real talent about him. But I think just based on the kind of experience that both the players have, I would say that Harvey Elliott just edges it at the minute.
Also, just to add on to that question, do you think there's something missing from Liverpool's midfield dynamic? And also, Harvey Elliott, why do you think he hasn't been starting? I know Sosblaya has been playing exceptional at the start of the season, but would you agree that he's fallen off a little bit or somewhat? And it's been a bit harsh for Elliott maybe not to get a more of a look in that side, because I think Klopp's been choosing him over Elliott. Or am I wrong?
No, that's true. And you're right on Szoboszlai. I think the first kind of 6 to 8 weeks of the season, Szoboszlai was really good, kind of surprised everyone with kind of his intensity and performances, but he has dropped off. In terms of our midfield dynamic, we're missing, I'll say we're missing a six. Like Endo's started our last 5 games, and he's been a bit up and down in those games, but the last 2, like he started against Arsenal, started against Man United, and didn't look out of his depth in those 2 games. And they're the kind of games that you want to judge your players on, like the better quality of opposition. So he wouldn't have been my first option for a 6. I know, because like obviously we've been playing McAllister there, which I think is his wrong position, but he can do a job there, as Klopp has said. I think if we had an established 6, like I think if we had a Bissouma, I think if we had Bissouma this season, we'd be clear at the top, like, because that's how good he's been for you guys. And going back to Elliott and his kind of opportunities, Klopp does like a rotation, but also as well, Curtis Jones has been playing really well when he's come in. So even though we've revamped our midfield, the options are now greater. So you've got Curtis Jones, you've got Szoboszlai, you've got McAllister, you've got Endo, you've got Gravenberch. We still got Bajcetic to come back. We still got Thiago to come back. So that's like 5, 6 really good midfield options, which I think every team needs. Like you need options, and I think to challenge on kind of forefront, which we're doing, you need the squad depth. So I think it has been a little bit harsh for Elliott. He played really well against West Ham last week in the cup. So he was a bit unlucky not to start the following game. Like Jones got the nod, but yeah, I think going forward you'll see him a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts against Newcastle in our next game.
I think just following up on that, Ash, I think you look at Liverpool's midfield, right, and compare it to ours. I think it's a lot harder to get into that Liverpool midfield than it is the Tottenham midfield at the moment because of how light we are. And let's not forget, obviously, when he was starting and we had a fully fit squad, right, we had players that weren't wanted, like your Pierre-Emile Højbjergs. Skip wasn't very well rated, and Bentancur was injured. So if you look at Liverpool, you know, they've got a wealth of talent in that midfield, which sort of Harvey Elliott has to get ahead of to start or take his chance when he can. Whereas Sarr has stepped in when, not stepped in, but he's been starting because other players are either out of favour or injured. And you know, don't get me wrong, he started the season alongside Bissouma and Maddison. And for me, he was one of our best performing players, and still he's putting in performances. But what I'm saying is there isn't much of a challenge in terms of people in midfield that are going to come in for his place. Whereas in Liverpool, there probably is. And I'm just basically trying to say why maybe Harvey Elliott hasn't got the minutes that he should have, maybe, or he should be getting, because it's much tougher. And I'm sure if we had decent players, I'd rather have players that are rotating and getting some minutes under their belts. Because don't forget, Sarr is still quite young. And for my perspective is, I don't want him to start sort of making mistakes and then him getting chastised for it because he's still young. I want us to be able to have a wealth of talent in that midfield that can come in and do a job when he drops off a bit. Because if he drops off, we've really got no one else, have we? We're having to rely on Bissouma to stay fit and to stay suspension free, you know? So it's a dangerous game. When you look at it, it's a really dangerous game trying to balance it all. But that, you know, it's a story of Tottenham season so far this year. It's a balancing act, you know, trying to keep things going when we're getting suspensions and injuries and everything else. So yeah, slightly went off on a tangent there, but
that's cool.
What I wanted to say was it's more difficult for Harvey Elliott to get into that midfield than it is for Sarr to get into our midfield at the moment or this season.
I think you make a great point, and I just wanted to kind of shift on to another point, because we played Everton at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on during the week, and we managed to get the 2-1 win, but lots of fans felt like we kind of lost control. Going into that midfield question, can Ange get away with this style of play with these current players? Because what you spoke about was us not having enough competition, not having the same level as Liverpool. And then also you brought up the fact that, we saw the fact that, you know, we lost that kind of control midfield. We didn't know how to get hold of it. And so my question is to Keith, does Ange have to somewhat adapt if he doesn't have that the Bissoumas playing alongside the Sarrs and maybe the Bentacles or the Madisons in that midfield dynamic? Can it still work the way Ange wants to play with like a Højbjerg and a Skip in the midfield with maybe a Eric Dyer in defence with a Ben Davies at the back? Because not at
all. I think you've seen the gulf in ability between those players that you mentioned and the ones that start. So if you've got Maddison, Bissouma, Sarr starting, and then for whatever reason you had to go down to Skip, Højbjerg, and Dyer, that fall off is massive. Is massive in my opinion, and just technically, it's not as good. So I know, like, Ange gets a lot of criticism about not adjusting his style, but I think in certain situations you have to give a little bit. Like, I'm not saying concede 100%. I'm not saying go full plan B or C, but you do need to adapt to the players that you have on the pitch. So can you get away with it? Yes, but how long can you get away with it? Like you mentioned the Everton game. Everton were lucky not to come away with a point at that game. I felt they were. I think you guys started really well. You put it on them really early, but like as you say, Everton got back into the game, and if it wasn't for a couple centimeters, they would have had that equalizer. And who knows what would have happened if that goal had gone in, like in terms of momentum. So, yeah, I think, and like I give him credit for sticking to his guns and kind of playing the way he wants to play. Like, he's got you to 5th in the league. Like that's really good. But to kick on, I think you do need to change your style. Like, if you look at all the top managers, they change their style at some point of the season or throughout their managerial tenure. and it just takes them to that another level. So yeah, just even if it's just not for Spurs in general, just as a manager, you want to have something else up your sleeve, and I think he'll need to show that at some point.
So obviously we spoke about this when we were together with Marlon. We talked about can Ange adapt moving forward. We're going into Brighton tomorrow. Do you think there needs to be a tactical tweak, a tactical change in the way we play? Because a lot of the players at the moment, when you look at Skip, he kind of sits a little bit deeper. Then you'll be like a typical six, a six that kind of holds that position like under Conte, kind of like facilitates the ball, keeps it ticking over. It's not one to know to be like on the front foot or does a half turn under pressure, doesn't really travel with the ball. Do you think we need to kind of adjust slightly to help players like Skip or your Højbjergs if they do start, or even your Ben Davies? Ben Davies been playing not too bad, but you get what I'm saying with Eric Dyers, etc. Do we need to slightly adjust, or do they need to carry on in the same way they've been playing against Everton?
So are you talking about adjusting players positionally or adjusting tactics in general?
Well, we start with positionally. Positionally, I think positionally and tactically go hand in hand. To be fair,
well, because if you're looking at it from positionally, he's already done that. I mean, Real was playing left back, Davies is coming at centre back. You know, there's times when someone's playing up front, and then now he's moved back to left wing. Brennan's gone right wing. Kulu's gone to number 10. So positionally, players, and yeah, even Sarr played number 10. You know, a few weeks back. So positionally, he is already trying to tweak stuff, but it's because his hand's being forced. You know, so you know there's no issues there because he's having to do what he's got to do to keep the squad going because it hasn't been replenished enough as it should have been. Tactically, I think he's trying to keep it the same. I think he's trying to keep all the players sort of singing off the same hymn sheet. But for me, it's like, you know, trying to put square pegs in round holes because some players can't adapt to that system. You know, you've got your Højbjergs who's very limited. You know, he'll run around, he'll give you energy and stuff. But when it comes to picking a pass or, you know, making the right decision, it's not there. Same with Skip as well. You know, the wrong choices, you know, bit of pressure. So for me, these players, they're good players, but they're not necessarily Ange players at the moment. They're not the type of players that he requires to play in his system. So, you know, he's getting away with it at the moment, and you can see it in the games, you know, where we're losing possession, we're inviting pressure. There's a reason why, you know, when you look at the Everton game, you know, we're inviting pressure because that's what they revert to. You know, if we're playing the Ange system, we'll be pressing at least 80 minutes of the game and then sort of close off. But all too many times you see in the later stages of the game, the players revert. Not even the later stages. You know, we've seen it in a few games where, you know, we've just sort of scored a goal and then gone back to Conte's system. And it's no surprise that it was players like Højbjerg and Skip who were in the team when that happened, you know. And it's no coincidence, in my opinion. So for me, yes, tactically, I think he needs to tweak it a little bit, maybe play to Højbjerg's strength if he's going to come in, because he can still do a decent job. But I think to play in the Ange system, I think is a bit much. He's not used to that system. And I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying Højbjerg is a bad player, because I don't think he is a bad player. I just think in the right system that suits him, he can be better. But this system for me doesn't suit him. And same with Skip as well, very limited in what it does. But what it does give you is energy. You know, he gives you energy, runs around, but nothing more to sort of knit the play at the end of the day. Whereas you look at Sarr, Bissouma, Maddison, when those three were playing, it was they give you energy with Sarr and Bissouma, but they can also carry the ball forward and they can link up the play between all the players around them. Whereas the two aforementioned players that I mentioned, because of their limitations, they can't do that. So we end up being more defensive and inviting pressure when we're playing certain teams. So yeah, I think tactically, I just think Ange wants to continue the way he's playing. He's shown that he's not afraid to take chances. He's not afraid to play his way. And I think he'll continue that way. I don't think he'll change the tactics too much. I don't think he will. It's just that he has to use what he's got at the moment. And he's just trying to be that sort of guy where it's like, look, I'm not going to moan. I'm just going to get on with the job, which is brave, which is valiant. But in the Premier League, you need to be a little bit more. You need to look at the likes of Klopp. You need to look at the likes of Pep, all these other managers who sort of tweak it through the season and adjust here and there, because they obviously have a goal at the end of the season, and that is to win the Premier League. These clubs want to win the league, they want to win, cups and stuff. I just think we're at a different stage, and if we go 2 years, maybe a year or two into the future, we might see, exactly what Ange wants to do, because then hopefully he'll have the players at his disposal. We'll be up there challenging, perhaps. At the moment, we just can't do that, not with these players, and I don't think the current style suits them.
It's interesting to hear your thoughts and opinions, because for me, it kind of tells me where Spurs are at compared to where Liverpool are at. Obviously, Liverpool been under Klopp for far longer, 7 years plus, where we've only been under Ange for like 6 months. But already, a lot of our fans have been given hope that we could push up the table and become a serious outfit, maybe with seasons to come. But it is a rival show, so I wanted to pivot back to Liverpool just for a second. I just wanted to talk about, obviously, we've got Porro. A lot of people saying like he's one of the best fullbacks in the league.
Yeah.
And they're comparing him to Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's been exceptional over the last 3 or 4 seasons, or even more. And I wanted to ask, is Trent good enough to play in midfield? And if so, where would he play in midfield? Like, what position?
Yeah, he is. Like, the core Liverpool fans will know that he played in midfield as a youth player. Like, he was a midfielder coming through the youth ranks at Liverpool. When he got into the first team, as we know, kind of being football fans and being around football, where you play in the youth team doesn't mean you'll play there when you get to your pro first team career. So, yeah, we've seen that he's capable to play midfield for Liverpool and England. Like last season, he was doing the inverted from like kind of March, April onwards. This season, he continued doing that. And there's been certain games where he's actually played as a dedicated number 6. So Crystal Palace, Endo went off at half time and he went and played in the number 6 role, with Gomez going out to right back. So is he good enough to play midfield? Yes. And I think he could potentially play a 6 or an 8, just because of his passing range. And I think what people kind of underestimate with Trent as well, his ability to get past players. Like, if you watch him, he's really good at this kind of turning on the ball and getting past a player who's trying to mark him. He's quite good at driving as well, which I think he's kind of stemmed from your fullback days where you kind of drive up and down the wing. But yeah, is he good enough to play midfield? Certainly a 6 or an 8.
My question is, just to counter that, do you think he has the defensive capabilities to do that role? Because in a 6, you kind of need to be positionally quite disciplined, which I'm sure he could be. But in terms of like winning the ball back in midfield, does he have that? Because that's what he's been criticized for as a fullback, someone that can't defend, someone that positionally comes sometimes out of position and it gets exposed quite a bit. So do you really think he could be the 6, or could he be an 8 the same way as Szoboszlai is? I can't say his name. It's embarrassing.
Szoboszlai. Yeah, definitely. I think when you look at Trent playing fullback, his defensive side of that is the weakest attribute. But he's not a terrible defender. Like, that's the thing. And I think when you hit the heights of certain players, when you have a mistake, it's just going to be highlighted. And if you look at most of the players who Trent has had a bad day against, they're not average. They're not average wingers. They've been the Sanes. You know what I mean? They've been like top quality full like wingers. It's very often. It's not very often like an average player will have the best of Trent. And in terms of like the defensive abilities as like a 6 or an 8, it's very rare that you're going to be isolated like you are as a fullback. So when you're fullback defending, you're normally isolated against a tricky winger, and they might have the opportunity to get past you, like it happens. But as a 6, it's very rare that you're kind of isolated like a fullback is. So yeah, I think he's got the defensive now to do it. Yeah, if he wanted to play midfield for Liverpool, I'd have no problems with it whatsoever. I think under Klopp, it would be in a position or a system that gets the benefit, gets the best out of Trent, whichever way he wanted to play. And like I say, he's done it a few times this season. There's been no dramas with it. He's working in a system that's got the best defense in the league. So yeah, no problems with it from my stance.
Can Trent play that DM role that Liverpool are desperately looking out for? And also, how far off is Porro to get into the levels of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's the best in the league at the moment, in your opinion?
Look, let me answer the second question first, because I'm just going to say it now. I think between Trent, there's levels at the moment. That's big shoes to fill, because Trent's been doing it for years now. And there's a reason why he's the highest assisting right back in the Premier League ever. Am I correct in saying that, Keith?
Sorry, say that again, sorry?
He's the highest assisting right back in the Premier League.
Yeah, so him and Robertson are the highest assisting defenders in Premier history. Yeah.
So to say, are they on the same level? I mean, look, Porro's playing catch up at the moment. And I love Porro. I think Porro is brilliant. I think he's got so much potential. I think he's been doing really well this season. I just think through what Trent has done, he's won a league, Champions League, you know, and with all the assists he's got in the Premier League's big shoes to fill. But there's nothing to say that he can't get to that level. In terms of can he play in midfield? 100% yes. 100% yes. I don't think defensively he's as good as what, you know, people make out he is. I think he can still fall short sometimes, especially what you know, agreeing with what Keith said about when he comes up against players that are at a high level. He does tend to sort of, you know, fold a bit in the game up against these sort of players. But going forward, and his passing ability as a fullback is just phenomenal. Some of the passes that I've seen him do with the outside of the foot, coming in down the line, I think it's amazing what he does. And for me, I would play him actually as an 8, you know, give him a bit less responsibility defensively and allow him to sort of flourish a bit and get forward and get those passes through to your more attacking players. You know, I think he can do a really good job in that midfield. And I'd like to see him there for England if we need to play someone there because of injury or whatever. You know, I think he'll be a really, really good option there alongside Jude Bellingham and perhaps one other, maybe even like a Maddison. But yeah, no, midfield, no problem for Trent. I think, you know, he's played inverted. He knows, you know, from playing there previously when he was younger. So for me, it's not a problem. You know, when you got ability on the ball, I think positionally, you can play anywhere on the pitch. You know, you only have to look at like the Dutch system, Ajax, they all play different positions. If you're technically good and you know, as long as your physical attributes suit, then you can play anywhere on the pitch, you know, as an outfield player.
Cool, man. Like, I wanted to use this opportunity because it's like going to be the last show of the actual year. And I wanted to kind of look
mad. That is mad.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of reflect on the season up till now for 2023, 2024. And I wanted to just pick your guys' brain. So I'm going to say it, and then I want you to like name me your best 11, mixed 11 for the Prem. So if you want, you can have anything, all Liverpool players. If you want to have a bit of Liverpool, bit of Spurs players, you fancy them, or if you like, maybe
I'm not that biased. I'm not that biased.
And I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? If you like certain people like rice, if you want some rice with some peas, you can put some rice and peas in there. I don't mind in it. In the comments, I want to see your best mixed 11 for 2023 coming into 2024. So I'm not talking about the whole year. I'm just talking up to like August, up until like this, until now. So,
So the current.
I want to start with the back five. We're going to go over 4-3-3. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go 4-3-3. Oh, you guys are right. Obviously, you're Liverpool. We're Spurs, so we've got similar systems. But yeah, I just want to hear the goalkeeper and the back four first, and then we can move on to midfield, and then we'll do strikers, and then we'll look at the comments, and then we'll kind of make that whole 11 together. So cool. I'll start with Keith. Yes, Keith. We'll start with you. Be your goalkeeper,
Alisson, but I'm gonna do a big shout out to Vicario because he's been really good. Like he's been really, really good. But I just think the some of the quality of saves that I've seen Alisson pull off this season have been phenomenal. And I don't think the gap is big. Like if I'm gonna say Alisson's and been a 9 out of 10, Vicario's been at 8.5. Like whoever scouted him, like round of applause. Because you look at a certain goalkeeper up in Manchester who's come in, like Vicario's blown him out of the water. So, but for me, Alisson has just pipped it. Left back, I'm going for your boy, Doggy. I don't think there's been a better left back in the league this season. The bar hasn't been high. I'm not gonna lie, but I think he's been the best left back. I think maybe if Livramento had started earlier in the season rather than Dan Burn, he might have pushed him up at Newcastle. But that's my left back. Centre back, I'm going Van Dijk and Saliba. But again, I'm going to give a shout out to your boy Van der Ven. I think if he wasn't injured, he'd be in there. Like I've seen Tottenham play live a couple of times this season, and I was really impressed with him. Like another one who's your scouting team. I don't know, where did you pick him up from?
Wolfsburg. Yeah,
really, really good defender. Like him and Van Dijk play for Holland together. Like really good defender. But Saliba and Van Dijk for me have been stand out. And right back, it's got to be my boy Trent.
Cool. Us.
What we're doing segments? So am I doing the midfield? Am I?
No. Everyone, even the chat. I just want everyone's back five. So the goalkeeper.
Okay. Yeah.
A full back left and a full back on the right. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, for me, I think the goalkeeper position, there's only been 2 goalkeepers in the Premier League this season that have impressed me. Vicario hugely and Alisson for me. It's a really, really tight one. But if we're putting it down to form at the moment, I think Vicario's got the most clean sheets in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken. So by that account, I'm going to probably go with Vicario. And, thank you for giving Vicario a mention. But you know what? Alisson, for me, has been top dog for years in the league. I just feel like Vicario, having come from a different league and adapting so well and doing what he's doing right now, I think is phenomenal. So I'm going to put him back there. Left back for me, again, like you said, the bar hasn't been set that high, but from what I've seen, Udogie has come in. He's an absolute monster, and he's going to get better as well. The kid is 20 years old. He's ridiculous. So Udogie for me at left back. The centre back pairing, I think, has to be the same. Van Dijk and Saliba for me are the 2 that I would have at the back. And I'm basing that. A lot of people are going to say, what about Romero, this, that, and the other? I'm also basing it on the fact that, they haven't been reprimanded for any sort of discipline issues this season as well. And I'm basing it on that as well. So Saliba's kept his nose clean, as has Van Dijk this season as well. No, Van Dijk.
Yeah,
Red card.
against
Right.
Newcastle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It was a harsh
there.
red.
there you go.
Harsh
So,
red.
Gotcha.
but yeah, I think it'll be a close one. Van der Ven wasn't injured. I might have even gone Van der Ven and Van Dijk. Those two playing together for the Dutch team. So that's my centre back pairing. I think imagine having Saliba and Van Dijk as your centre backs. That is just ridiculous.
Yeah, really good.
Ridiculous. Right back for me. Look, I'm gonna go a bit left field here. I love Trent. I think Trent is fantastic, but I'm just gonna go with that years of experience and quality in Kyle Walker for me at right back. I still think Kyle Walker's amazing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, not mad at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with just on this season alone, Vicario again. Only because watching him live, it's the leadership quality which kind of shocked me. I didn't think he'll pick up the English so quickly, speaks it so fluently. I think that's a massive part in controlling your centre backs. Also, Spurs haven't conceded from a single corner. So that tells me he's really commanding that box. Like, for me, Spurs always concede from corners. So I was doing I looked at him before we started and I thought that might be a weakness, that he comes out and he flaps a little bit, but he's completely done the opposite and he's been very imposing. And I like a goalkeeper to command that area and let the centre backs know who's boss. Do you know what I mean? Because that steadies the ship. We saw what happened with Manchester United against Aston Villa and how Onana was on his line. We've seen with David Raya when he got lobbed, coming off his line. He's done it more than once, not just against Chelsea, but other teams as well. He comes off his line a little bit, so he's a little bit shaky. So for that reason, I think just going on from now to where we are, where at the start of the season, I think since the Brentford game, he's just improved. Each game has gone on. I think he's made like maybe one mistake I can remember. And that might be
when the doggy passed it back.
Yeah, it wasn't really his fault. Yeah, West Ham.
It wasn't, but yeah.
I think he should have gone with his feet rather than his hands. But I think that's the only thing I could probably put on him. But yeah, that's my context just for Vicario. But otherwise, Alisson, if I'm going like longevity, obviously Alisson, I would definitely. Yeah, so going into the centre backs again, Virgil van Dijk, he's just got the height for me. And again, another leader. I like people that talk, command, tell people where to go, bossing, imposing. If it wasn't for Van der Ven's hamstring injury, I would possibly look at him because I think he's been a great signing. I'm not just talking about defending, but on the ball. I haven't seen a player being able to kind of drive with the ball, go on at half turn, be brave. And that's what it's all about. Football's all about being brave, not being shy. You need to sharpen those games. And so off the ball, on the ball, and even in fact, Liverpool actually looking at Van der Ven. I think a lot of Liverpool fans are thinking, nah, we missed the trick in not signing him. Saliba at the moment, the only reason why I go with Saliba over Romero is, as you guys said, consistency. Like he's been on the pitch a lot more. As a footballer, I do like him. So it's not just like what he does defensively, because I think defensively, Romero, for me, it slightly edges him, but I'm on the ball. I do like Saliba. I think he's a quality footballer. Fullback is a tricky one. It's techie because Trent defensively I'm not too keen on, but Porro defensively has been decent this season. But at the same time, I just think what you get with Trent going forward makes up for that. So I'm going to go for Trent. And then fullback, again, it's going to be a full house. It's going to be a doggy. So I want to move on to midfield. And I'll start with Keith. What are we saying about the midfield three?
Right. So as the 6, I'm going with Rice. I said when Arsenal was sniffing around, he's the exact type of player that they need, and he would elevate the team and the squad. And I think he has done. So Rice is my 6. I know he's been injured for a while, but Maddison, like, I can't not have him in there. Like the way he started for you guys, the price that you got him for, like, I'm just jealous all round. Like, yeah, Maddison, yeah, he's been cooking. Like, there's nothing else to say. Really good signing for you guys, and it's a shame that he's been out for so long. And this might be a little bit left field, but I'm going Paqueta. Like, I think he's done really well. I think, yeah, that would be a really good midfield trio. Shout out to Rodri. Like, Rodri's innit? Like, but yeah, I think those three have been really stand out so far this season.
Has?
Yeah, look, I think if we're basing it off this season, again, Rodri, you know, for me, he's a great player. I just think he's been a bit off it since last season. It hasn't been the same Rodri that we used to from last season. You know, obviously he had that red card as well, got sent off. He's missed a few games. But yeah, I'll start with the obvious one in there. Maddison, for me, absolutely amazing signing for us. You know, amazing player. So he goes straight in there. If I'm looking at midfield players, yeah, again, Rice has been fantastic. So I can't knock that. He's got to have a spot in there for me as well. That third position, it's a bit, I don't know. It's a bit of a tough one because you've got Maddison and Rice there, who I think would work fantastically well together. Who else do we put in there?
The right side.
You know what? Shall we say Trent in there as well?
Can't do that. I thought you were going to play him inverted, no?
No, I'm not going to do that. But it'd be a good trio still. Do you know what? I'd probably go Bissouma. I know he's been a bit off it last couple of games or whatever, but I think with Maddison, Rice, and Bissouma, I think that's a formidable trio. So that'll be my trio in the middle. I know I've got two Tottenham players there. It's not about me being biased or anything, but
oh, of course not.
Well, you know, it's too. Look, it would be too easy to give it to Rodri at the moment because I'd be basing it off last season, and we're basing it off this season, and I just think, you know, he hasn't given the same level as last season yet. So yeah, that's my three.
Fair. Yeah, it's not easy, man. But there are a lot of midfielders that came out of the season. And if we're going down to players that actually played and availability and how many games they got in, it's techie. Rice has to be the most available. He's played a lot of games, man. I mean, if Bissouma hadn't missed so many games, I think Bissouma went off form as well. As much as I love the guy, he did drop form after Luton. Rice has been consistent. I do prefer my midfielders to drive with the ball, a bit like a Rodri. So I do prefer Rodri over Rice in stylistic. But again, as you said, Rice made a good point about Rodri being sent off, being missing, suspension and injuries, whereas Rice hasn't had that. So I was going to go Rodri, but Rice holds down that 6 because of what Has says. It's annoying. It's annoying. Someone in the comments actually mentioned Maddison not being available through injury. So I'm actually going to take that into consideration because I love Maddison. I think Maddison has been a revelation. And for me, he was my sign of the season. But I'm actually going to take that into consideration as well. So I'm not going to put him in there. I do like the look of Bernardo Silva. I think Bernardo Silva's quality, dribbling with the ball, carrying that ball. I have to get a City player in there somehow. So it's like between Foden and Bernardo Silva playing in that kind of inverted midfielder role. On the other side, I'm going to be controversial and I'm going to go for a bit of physicality. And I'm going to go for a John McGinn. I
was thinking about that, you know. I was actually thinking, shall I? Yeah, he's been great, John McGinn.
I think he's been a big reason why Villa have done so well. He doesn't play that wide right. He kind of tucks in because they play a 4-4-2, but I think he'd be perfect in a 4-3-3, playing as a right-sided 8. Not only does he give you physicality, but he gives you legs. He covers a lot of the ground. He actually adds goals as well, contributes. He's a good passer, creativity. But because he's an Aston Villa team, a lot of people look past him. So for me, I would like Bernardo Silva's dribbling because he's versatile to play left or right of any of eights. And he has played on the wing as well, but he's also played as a 6. So I like that versatility. I like my players that can do football. Then I do like what Rice has done for me. He's got those winners. So like, I can't remember the game, but he scored a header last minute. I thought that was like, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was like, for me, that was like a captain's performance by him. And you could just see that Arsenal just looks so much more solid.
Should I tell you the other player that I gave consideration to, right? And again, this might be a bit left field, but Joe Linton at Newcastle, I just think he's been a revelation this season, even from last season as well. I think he's taken to that midfield role like duck to water, if I'm being honest. If you remember, he come in as a striker, but as a midfield player with that power, that passing ability and that shooting ability, for me, box to box, I think he's got to be in there with sort of as a backup option, right?
I actually prefer. It's a different position, but actually, out of that Newcastle team, I prefer.
You can say Guimaraes.
Guimaraes, yeah, Bruno Guimaraes for me, and that's why I was looking at Rice, and I was like, oh, but Guimaraes stylistically, that's the player I like. That's what I want. I want a Guimaraes in that midfield because like Rice is good, but in terms of like controlling the game, bringing that ball forward, carrying that ball, Guimaraes for me does that a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Keith, did you want to change anything, or did you want to add any more?
No, I could say one of my reserve options was going to be Douglas Luiz at Aston Villa. I think he's been really good this season. Like he's popped up with a few goals, like Rice has, and like I say, in terms of that box to box, he covers the distance. I've been really impressed with him this season. So yeah, Douglas Luiz would have been my reserve.
Cool. All right. So, guys, in the comments, I've seen some of your midfield threes looking spectacular. I know. How could I not pick Maddison though? That's crazy to me. Maddison was my first pick in my head. Anyway, front three, we move, man. Front three. I'll start with you again, Keith. Who would your front three be?
So I'm going to do my shout outs for the ones that nearly made it.
Cool.
So that way. Watkin nearly made it. Solanke nearly made it. Kula nearly made it. But it's just got to be Salah, Haaland, and Son. Like they always put up numbers. Like Salah, he's just the guy. Haaland, I know he gets a lot of criticism. Like when he doesn't score, people say he doesn't influence his game. But he's been top goal scorer all season. Smashed the record last season. Like if you want a shooter, if you want a goal scorer, you pick Haaland. Like I don't care what else he does in the game. I know he's going to score goals in it. The goals are going to come. And then Son taking up the mantle of Kane leaving, played wide, played up front. Like he'll get you goals. So yeah, Son, Haaland, and Salah for me.
Yep. Has any disagreement, or would you want to mention your reserves first before you go into your front three?
It's a difficult one, this one as well. Well, not difficult in the sense that Haaland and Salah has got to be up there for me easily. I think Son would work really well in that team. I can't disagree with that front three, if I'm being honest. You know, Son off the left, Salah off the right, and Haaland playing down the middle. I think that's frightening. I think that team wins the league, if I'm being honest with you.
Easily.
Whichever way you look at it, just that front three alone would spark fear in any team in Europe. Honestly, you can't look past that. But you got to give special mention to a couple of players, right? The first one for me is Diaby from Aston Villa. I think he's been a phenomenal signing for them. I can't quite put him on the Salah level yet, but he has been phenomenal for Aston Villa. I think the other one we've got to look at is Phil Foden, because he can pull up something out of the bag, out of nothing when they need him to. I think he's also deserving of a special mention. Eddie Nketiah at Arsenal. No, I'm joking. I thought I'd get that in there. No, truth be said though, I think Saka would probably get a mention. I think he's been off this season. I think by his standards, I think he's been off, but he's had the most assists still at Arsenal. So just by that alone, I think he would probably make it onto the subs bench. So that's the 3 subs that I would go with. So you've got Saka, Foden, and Diaby for me.
I like the subs bench, man. I do like it. My subs bench is going to be slightly different, but it's not too far off. Now, I think Kudos. Jeez! It's proven to me.
Yeah,
Kudos.
done well, very well.
He's proven to me. I wasn't like, I knew it was good. I knew it was good, but doing it in the Dutch league and coming over to the Prem, 2 different animals. But he's just come on like a duck to water. And it's not only on his stronger foot, but on his weaker foot, he's finishing as well. So for me, that's what was impressive. Physicality, he has it. Pace, playing all over that front 3 as well. He's not just playing on the right. I've seen him play central and I've seen him play on the left. So that for me gives a lot of fluidity, a lot of choices. And that's what I want in my front 3. I want my front 3 to play in any position and just be a threat. So I would have Kudos on my bench, getting him ready to jump off at any minute. Who else has impressed me? Like Haas has got he's got a point with Diaby because Diaby was one of my favorites, but I'm gonna have to get into Doku because Doku's had moments where, like, maybe not as a striker, but if you're having a front 3 and you need a winger to kind of do something and change the game, Doku's that man that can. He's a 1v1 demon. He can beat his man at a drop of a hat. He comes on the inside, he goes on the outside, he's tricky, he's a lot. And I think he's been a difference because I was looking at Seat and I was like, wow, Mahrez is gone. Like, what are they going to do? I think they're going to fall off. Doku came in. I can't remember what game it was, but I think he got like a hat trick or four assists or something crazy in one game. I think it was against Brighton. And he just literally, City just tore them apart. But the biggest reason for me was because Doku was in the squad. And then I have to go back to West Ham because I think Bowen's been amazing. I think I'll be real. I think Bowen has been electric. His pace, he's running in behind, his finishing, his calmness in the box, his ability to lead the line at times as well. Because I thought, could Bowen be a number 9? Yes, he can. He can when he wants to. Prefer position on the right, stretches teams. And I think he's pushed on from last season. I think he's having an exceptional season. So I don't know how many goals he's got, but I'm pretty sure he's like 3rd or 2nd in the goal scoring charts. He's in there amongst them. So, but yeah, I have to go boring and agree with you guys.
Are we gonna overlook Solanke because I think he's been playing exceptionally well?
Listen, I was having an argument in my WhatsApp group about Solanke. Lots of people are like, not lots of people. Some people are saying, nah, he ain't it. Like, he misses a lot of chances. You know, this guy. For me, he impressed me from last season. He didn't get the same numbers that he's pulling up this season, but I liked his first touch. I like his movement. I like his link up with Billing last season and this season. I think he leads the front really well. He's quite technical, even though he's quite tall. Like, he's quite technical with the ball at his feet. He's not.
Yeah. And what I would say is that he hasn't really been firing all season, if that makes sense. Like, his goals have really come of late. So I know we're kind of doing it for the whole season. I think that's why I just didn't include him, because he hasn't been consistent, say, from August.
Fair enough. And see, that was the back and forth I was having. But for me, Solanke, because I think I've got the biases of last season, I was looking at him. So I remember him at Liverpool and I remember him at Chelsea. And I was like, okay, he's at Bournemouth now. What can he do? And then I just saw him. I said, actually, you know what? This kid's not bad. He's young, but you know what? He's keeping up. If he keeps up with this form, he's only going to get better as years go on. Imagine by the time he's like in his late 20s, he's going to be a killer. So I thought, yeah, worth a mention. But the front 3 are the front 3 for a reason. Like, they're like, for each team, like, you take Son out of Tottenham, you're panicking. Salah, the same with Liverpool. I know they've got a lot of attackers. I think Jota, I think he's a beast. In front of goal, I think he's a beast.
Yeah, killer.
Wolves, because I remember him scoring against us at the Tottenham Stadium. I think it was like the last minute. Him and Adama Traore at one point was giving us nightmares and headaches. But yeah, he went to Liverpool, and I wasn't sure if he could make the jump up. Definitely has. So I think Jota, he's a top. I think he will help when Salah's gone. I think Jota will fill in nicely. But yeah, take Salah out, Liverpool don't look the same. Take Sonny out, Tottenham don't look the same. Haaland is out of the City team. They did kind of watching against Everton. They don't have that same killer. Do you
There's
know
no
what I mean?
focal point, is there? I mean,
Yeah,
there's a lot of sort of trying to gain entry into the penalty box by playing pretty football, but there's no sort of focal point, if you know what I mean.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that, you know, before they used to play with no 9 and they used to just have all their midfielders playing false 9s and stuff. And they worked to an extent because obviously they won a title with it. So I can't be like, But now it looks unrecognizable not having a forward in that City lineup. You need a forward. And Alvarez, he is a forward, but he's just not the same. Like, I think Haaland's just shown us the levels now.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll go as far to say is Alvarez, I don't think him as a false 9 or a 10. I think he's been playing as a 10. I don't think that false 10 position should have been given to him. I think Jack Grealish, how he was at Aston Villa, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think if he played in the 10, I think he would have done wonders. And I've heard that City are looking at Eze, and I just think Eze in that 10. If Pep pulls him out on the right or he puts him out on the left, I'll be so disappointed for Eze. Don't go to City if Pep's going to mess you around. Please stay as a 10. That's all I ask. Do you know what I mean? But before we go, because I was meant to ask you a few more questions, but I know you have to leave. But before we wrap up the show, I just wanted to get your opinion because you mentioned Saliba, and this is a rival show, right? And Arsenal, other than City, are probably one of your biggest rivals, I'd imagine, in terms of like where you are in the league, what you're going for. You got them in the cup. But I just wanted to know, is it VDV or is it Saliba?
Ooh.
Drop that on man heavy, bro.
It's like, you know what? Just the levels that Van Dijk has shown over the years. Like, I know after he had the long injury, he was a bit shaky for kind of 18 months, which is understandable. But he's come back this season and he's leading like various defensive stats. So what I would say is that VVD is now, Saliba is the future. So right now, I wouldn't swap Van Dijk for any other centre back in the league. Like I said, I bigged up Saliba, I bigged up Van der Ven, but I wouldn't swap Van Dijk right now. But yeah, going forward, Saliba and Van der Ven, I think, are going to be top centre backs in the Premier League.
Has VDV or Saliba?
Based on this season alone.
Yeah, that's just based on this season.
It's a tough one, but if I'm looking at someone who's well-rounded, mature, experienced, done it all before, I'm probably going to go with Van Dijk. For me, like you, I like his height. I like the fact that aerially he's very good, and his stand up as well is good as well. I can't look. It's a very close one, but you know, Saliba's only sort of had one proper season because he was injured most of last season. But Van Dijk's been there, done that. I'd probably go with Van Dijk if I'm being honest with you. There, said it.
Good man.
End the show.
End the show, Dave.
Well, bro, Key, I want to thank you for coming on. It's our last show of the season.
Wait a minute. How are you escaping without giving your opinion on it?
Yeah, exactly.
No. You don't get off lightly like that. We've got to take your opinion on it as well.
Huh? I create the questions, bro. I don't answer them. I create them. So, basically,
oh, there's been a technical issue. Sorry, people. Oh, he's back.
Question. Who's better, Saka or Salah? Yeah. So let me answer that one for you, man.
No.
I'm joking. All right, we won't do that. Yeah. Virgil van Dijk has lost a little bit of pace, but he makes up with that through his experience. Now Liverpool, for me, they're in a little bit of a dilemma because they've lost their centre back pairing. They've got a few injuries. They've got Robertson, left back, he's out, and they've also got Tamikas, he's out as well.
Yeah.
And the centre back pairing that you used to see with VDV, he's got a knee injury, has he? He's got a knee injury, hasn't he?
Yeah, so Matip done his ACL, so Konate's been playing, but I rate Konate highly. I don't see any issues there. And it's interesting, Konate and Saliba are both French, and they rarely start together. They rarely start together. Yeah, Deschamps really likes to play Upamecano at Bayern, who's not great in my eyes. But yeah, I think we're good. And we've got Jarrell Quansah coming through, who's come through and played really well in the games he started this season. So,
that's pretty well. I was just wondering if maybe you need to purchase someone in January on that left hand side. Just in case.
We got Conor Bradley, who played left back. Gomez played left back when Tsimikas got injured on Saturday and played really well. Yeah, I was a bit worried about how he'd fare, but he played really well. So I think I'd be surprised if we spent money in January, to be honest.
Fair. I'll just go for Virgil because, as I said before, I like his leadership. I like the way he talks. I like his height, physicality of him. Can play out from the back, can score goals from set pieces as well. He's a real presence, a real handful to play with. But yeah, man, it's not an easy one. It's not an easy one. I do like how Saliba plays in that kind of defense, kind of in that midfield as well. But again, I go back to Romero. Romero can do it, and we'll be missing him for 5 weeks now. So I'm just hoping that, I'm hoping that, whoever comes in that position can step up and be brave like Romero is and help us push on. I'm not scared of Brighton. I don't know how much
you're asking for a bit much from Royale.
Yeah, I mean, depends. I mean, everyone's hoping that it's not. If we play one of the youngsters, I know there's a lot of debate about the youngsters. No one's seen them. We don't know if they can step up to the mark, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Ange does go that way. But I want to just quickly get your thoughts on predictions as well before we do end the show. Obviously, Spurs are playing Brighton. How do you see that going, Keith?
I think Brighton are too inconsistent of late. I think Spurs should win that. I'm not going to say comfortably. I think it'll be a really good game, actually. Two good footballing teams. But I think Spurs will edge that.
Context as well.
Sorry, say again.
I'll say what was the reasons behind that?
I guess think Brighton are too inconsistent. Although De Zerbi's really good, he's been chopping and changing his team quite a lot this season. He hasn't stuck with like a core team, and I think that's kind of backfired on them somewhat this season. And like I say, Spurs are settled. Once you guys kind of are firing, I think you're good. I don't see Brighton being. I'd be surprised if Brighton win. And
Has, what do you think about this prediction, Brighton?
Look, I think both teams have had an extra day or two to recover, or extra day to recover. I think Brighton really, really, really do need the points, but playing in Europe has really hit them hard this season because they've not done it before. So, that's a contributing factor for them. Tiredness, losing players. I think we are sort of on the ascendancy, but obviously losing Romero is a massive blow. So that could, be a spanner in the works for us. I'm going to go for a very narrow Tottenham win tomorrow. I don't think it'll be easy. Because they'll be fighting for their life, not for their lives, but they're fighting for a win. They're playing at home. It's never easy. It's a midweek evening game, So I think it's going to be a narrow 2-1 Tottenham win tomorrow. But it's not going to be easy at all.
Guys, I want to get your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of this Spurs result? Spurs related has put 2-1 to Spurs. 2-1 to Spurs. We've got a 4-0 incoming from El Tel Coquerel. What else? People want to know what your scores are. Me personally, I know we're away from home, but our away record actually has been decent of late. So I'm expecting the boys to do a job. Brighton have only got 1 win in 5, I believe, in the Premier League. I do agree with Keith and himself, Has. They have been chopping and changing. The Zerbi's not quite settled. And that is because of the injuries. But he did mention Big Ange's name, and he said he likes him because he's not mentioned about injuries. He's actually not moaned at all. He's just, got on with it, and he kind of admires that. And I think that's inspired him because he said, looking at the players that he's got, he said he's got a lot of youngsters, so he's going to have a lot of energy, and so he's hoping that kind of pushes through in the night. But we've got some youth as well. We've got some energy. We've got 1 game a week, as we said before. So I think we should be able to outwork them as the game goes on. I think the experience will tell as well as the game goes on. And I just think missing they're playing, is his name Arinda and Mitoma. They're
Mitoma, big miss.
Those 2 attacking players they're missing are going to be vital. I really like Solly Marsh. I think he's a dope player.
Yeah.
Him and Gross will be playing. He almost made my subs bench for my midfield, but that's another debate. Yeah, they're missing Webster at the back. I thought Webster's quite good playing that centre back because he knows when to invert. He knows how to kind of be versatile. Vietman as well. He's quite good as well. And then also, I think that they're missing Mr. Pinion on the left back.
Yeah.
He was always in the fantasy team because he always used to get me points. So he's up and down. He gives the extra width, and he would allow someone like Matoma a 1v1, and they've missed that quite a bit. So I think Udogie coming back in the side is going to be massive for Spurs, and I think that was part of the reason why we were kind of losing control in that midfield, because Emerson Royale doesn't invert the same way as Udogie does. Udogie gets the ball, he does the half turn, he's quite physical, but he's able to carry that ball, and he sees the picture a little bit quicker compared to Emerson Royale, where he needs to take a touch, then pass, then settle himself. Udogie just does it instinctively, and you saw what he did against Newcastle when he scored the goal. He was involved in the build-up play, etc. So I think that double pivot or the triple pivot in that midfield, having Skip, have Porro and Udogie, that will help us in our transitional play, and I think we'll be able to play a lot more centrally, because I find that Spurs sometimes we play through the channels a lot more. If we don't have anyone good in that midfield role, and teams know that, and they kind of press our midfielders. So hopefully that will help Skip. But yeah, anyway, I've got another prediction of 3-1 from Who's News. I'm going to predict as well. I'm going to go for a 3. I'm going to go for 3-1. I'm going to go 3-2, but I think a 3-1 will be fair. Who's News has got his team well. He's going for Son, Haaland, Diaz, Basuma, Sarr, Salah, Espitanian. Okay, VDV, Van Dijk, Trent, and Vicari. That's a good team. That's a very good game. But yeah, literally, I'm gonna end it there, guys. Man, I wanna thank our guest Keith.
Thank you very much for having me, man. It's been fun.
I just want to ask you, where can we find you, man, and what are you doing next?
Well, right here, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, on the social, the Centre Circle podcast, talking everything football on there. So yeah, that's it. Look out for our pod. We drop every Monday on all the usual channels. So yeah, thank you very much for having me, guys.
No problem, man. And well, hopefully we get you back on, and we invite one of your teammates as well to come along to assist you. Are they all Liverpool fans, or is it a mix of people?
No, it's Liverpool and Arsenal. Liverpool.
I see. Yeah.
It's all the Reds. It's all the Reds, basically.
We try not to be too biased with our conversations. And yeah, it's been fun, man.
Cool. Ash, when can I see you next, man? I heard you're leaving us, man.
You can't say that and leave it on a cliffhanger, Ash. Come on now.
I heard you're leaving us.
Just for context, I'm not leaving the channel. If that's what you guys are thinking. No, I'll be flying on my holiday on the 1st of Jan, so I won't be around for a couple of weeks. I might do a little surprise cast from wherever I'm going.
With a topical background, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, sipping on my coconut juice and everything else. So, yeah, that's it. If not, I'll be back from the 15th onwards. I'm looking forward to coming back on the shows with Ash. Obviously, we've still got our reaction shows coming up this week as well. I think tomorrow we've got a reaction show for the game against Brighton, which I believe is going to be Marlon.
Cool.
And that will be tomorrow night, guys. So make sure you tune in. It'll probably be around 9:30, 10. So keep an eye out on YouTube. And yeah, guys and girls, drink responsibly and have the best New Year's Eve ever. And a happy 2024.
Yeah, happy New Year, guys. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, Keith. Thank you.
Take care.
Big up. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.